Welcome back to Liverpool Latest. I'm your host, Matt, and we probably just watched one of the most boring matches of football I could have possibly, you know, watched this year. This was miserable. This game was on at 8:30 in the morning here in the U.S. And when I tell you I nearly got put back to sleep, come like halfway through the second half, I I I I swear, cross my heart, it was getting to that point where I was just so goddamn bored of watching this team on the pitch. We faced Brighton at home today, or at their home today. And I will say some positives of the match. Brighton's crowd, very electric to listen to. They are certainly they were an energetic bunch, which I can't say the same for Anfield for this entirety of the season. I will also say that I don't necessarily fully blame Mamardashvili for allowing those two goals into the net. I think the first one could have been a little bit better defended by him, but I think the second one there's nothing he could have done. I mean, the defense kind of Swiss cheesed him a little bit there and let Brighton go through, and Denny Welbeck, who's 35 years old, fucking scored two goals in the position and absolutely awful. Absolutely awful. Not only that, James Milner from Brighton was absolutely dogging us the entire match. Former Liverpool great, still going strong at 40 years old. God bless him. Definitely showed us what it took to be a very tough midfield player. So shout out James Milner. And last but not least, as far as positives go, Kirkez. Kirkez had a very good goal in the 30th minute. I'm not going to lie, that's like the only highlight offensively I can give you this match. There were a few other good spots that we were trying to score on, but Brighton's keeper just did a better job protecting the net than we did. I will say that dunk performance in that first half was terrible, which allowed Kirkez to score that first and only goal that we had, which was masterful by Kirkez. I don't know how he got there. I'm not sure why he was there, but it seemed like he had enough wherewithal and enough IQ to be in a position to score the goal because he knew Dunk was going to pass it back to the keeper. And I will say, and I've been saying this for a long time, for some time now, Kirkez has probably been one of the better players on the pitch, and slowly but surely is worth the money that we spent for him. And I say that because he had a very rough first couple of games with us in the left back position. They replaced him with Andy Robertson for a little while. Robertson then took a back step, and Kirkez went back in. He even grew out a mullet too during that period of time. And while he hasn't always been perfect, Kirkez has been an absolute demon when we need him to be. So today it was one of those days, and he's probably been one of our more consistent players as of recently on the field, if you want my honest opinion. Konate had a stinker. Van Dijk had a stinker. They were just letting guys go past them like nobody's business. It was awful. Awful performance on all sides. It's funny because last night I was at the bar hanging out with some friends, and there was a new guy part of the group, and he was a Liverpool fan, shockingly enough. We were talking, we were having a little discussion about this game, and he thought that maybe we can do good against Brighton, and I was like, nah, man, we can't let that Gala win fog our eyes, because there's been far more problems with this team than we would all like to admit. And one of those problems is that we have 4 wins in the last 13 games. And those involve the likes of Wolves, Spurs, Gala, and yet somehow, some way, Arne Slot continues to keep his job. I'll get to that in a second. Let's go down some of the stats, shall we? Possession it was more or less a very even game on both sides. I mean, there might be some more stats that favor us, but if you ask me, Brighton was pretty well evened with us throughout the course of the match. Brighton had more shots on goal or shots on target, as well as shots in general. We had a little bit more possession than Brighton by about, a little over half. As far as passes go, we had slightly more pass accuracy, slightly more. We had less fouls than Brighton. And the amount of yellow cards given in this match were shockingly 5 for 5 apiece. I don't know what the fuck was going on there. I'm not going to lie. I was half asleep when this match was going on. I had to go back and watch the highlights just to remember what the hell happened, because the game was, one, so damn boring, and I literally had just gotten up to watch the game. So I was not as focused as I wanted to be. We had less offsides, and we had more corners, which were all miserable attempts, as they all have been throughout the course of the season. I don't know what you want me to tell you. It's another loss. I want to be upset. I want to be angry. I want to come out here and rant and rave and be pissed off, but at this point, I just don't have the energy for it anymore. I just don't. This team, unless they make the proper changes that they need to make, this team will not get better. And they are only, Richard Hughes and whoever else is in charge, by not making the call to sack Slot as it stands right now, we are costing us Champions League play for next year. And as a matter of fact, we are costing us respect amongst the Premier League. When shitty teams now feel bad for us, and like a shitty team opposing fans feel bad for us, like people lower in the table, or teams lower in the table, that should be a telltale sign that something's not working. And something has not been working for more or less a majority of the season, outside of a couple of, bright spots here and there, and a undefeated run that we had. But this has just been, it's been bad. It's been really bad. What's even worse, to add to the injury woes that we have, Ugo Ekitike now has suffered an injury. Apparently, he went down around like the 5-minute mark after a collision. I'm not really sure what the actual injury was. I'm not sure if it was like a hamstring, a muscle thing. It didn't look like he broke anything because he was able to walk it off a little bit, but or otherwise he wouldn't have been able to walk at all. But it looks to me like this is not going to be something that we need at this moment in time. We certainly did not need it now, but with Mo Salah gone, and apparently Alisson Becker out even longer than anticipated, we're going to be stuck with Mamardashvili for the better part of the foreseeable future for the rest of the season, it seems. The lucky thing is that Isak might be coming back sooner rather than later, but I highly doubt that he'll make as much of an impact as people say. So basically speaking, we are stuck with Cody Gakpo. Yes. The only consistent starter we have in the front who is not currently hurt is Cody Gakpo. Let that sink in. Let that sink in. I'm not really sure what the plan was for this game, but I can tell that at some point when Ekitike went down, whatever plan we initially had as far as striking goes and getting goals certainly went out the window, because you cannot under any circumstance rely on Cody Gakpo of all people to be your sole source of striking on this team. Maybe you can put Florian Wirtz in there. Maybe you can put him to help out a little bit, but it was not in any way, shape, and form a good setup. We were fucked from the very beginning. As a matter of fact, this formation I have never seen before in my time being a fan of football, and it's, even though it's been a very short couple of years, but 4-1-2-1-2. What the fuck is that? What the fuck am I looking at? I can understand a 4-2-3-1, but what the fuck is that extra number gotta be there for? That is just an absolute sham. I am appalled. I am truly appalled by what I am seeing here. That is just absolutely horrendous. I don't even know what the shape is. What is this shape supposed to be? What is the drawback, or what is the positives and the negatives of this shape? Because it seems like there's clearly a lot more negatives. A lot of holes going through here, clearly, because that's how Welbeck was able to score those goals. I don't know what they were looking for in this game. After such a positive game against Gallo, moving on to the Champions League, which granted Gallo's not a great team. They were pretty undermanned and from skill and as well as injuries. But this was not what I anticipated happening. I expected it to be a lot more competitive with that, and frankly, this was not a competitive match, in my honest opinion. Which begs the question. We now have the international break. About a week off or so from any sort of football in the Premier League, the Champions League. Everybody's focused on trying to make it into the World Cup, as they should for their respective countries. It's, are we going to make the call? Are we going to make that call? Finally. Will Liverpool, the club higher-ups, sack Slot? I told you the stats already. 4 wins in 13 games. That's absurd. And as a matter of fact, I think they were showing a graphic somewhere earlier where it seemed as though I think Slot has like the most losses in the Liverpool season in like 10 years, maybe more. I was looking at all the list of losses that we have had from like all the different seasons. I think we had like one was one loss, one was like 2 loss, a couple of those sporadically spread out. Maybe there was 3 or 4 in another one. But Jesus Christ, we're at 10 losses this season. This is fucking sad. This man is turning our club into a fucking laughingstock. I don't know what more proof we need on the field to get him out. If this was going to get fixed, this was going to get fixed back in January. And clearly they did nothing there. We got Jaquette, cool, but he wasn't going to be playing for us immediately. Hence why I believe that doing nothing in this window harmed us more than helped us, frankly. We did a lot of passive transfers. Transfers that weren't going to immediately fix the problems that we were seeing on the field. And that was the problem. And probably the biggest change we needed to make was sacking Arne Slot. And we have yet to do that. Will Liverpool finally come to their senses and say, hey, listen, we got to let you go? I mean, for Christ's sake, Chelsea at this rate might have another manager than Liverpool will. They might have another manager after the loss they had today. That's 2 this season. Insane. Absolutely nuts. I don't know what we're trying to do here. I don't know what is the I can't even find my words. I'm so fucking angry. What does it have to take for Arne Slot to lose his job? I don't know what more proof you need. I'm sorry. Like I don't know what more proof that we need that Arne Slot is not fit for this job. If you sack him now, we get Steven Gerrard in the Champions League games. Maybe the vibes raise up just a little bit, and then we finally get Xabi Alonso in the offseason. That's what I want. But they won't make that call. We'll have to see what happens. I've given up. I have given up at this point. I can't be invested in this team. I will obviously continue to do Liverpool Latest, but I am so uninvested in what I am watching on a week-to-week basis. It's like one week is a pretty good high, one week is a low, one week is lower, one week is lower than that, and then we get kind of back up to the sort of high again. That's what it's like. That is what our season feels like. It's one really good bright spot, and then everything goes down from there, and maybe there's a couple of high points in between. But it's miserable. Here's one thing that's not necessarily miserable as far as Liverpool goes as a entirety of a company and a organization, and that is Fuka Nagano and Risa Shimizu, who have been a part of the Women's Asian Cup, who have won that Asian Cup with their country, Japan. I did mention this maybe earlier this week, that they were going to be involved in international duty for that game, and it seems as though it has paid off for them. The official release from Liverpool.com is as follows. Micah Harmono's 17th minute goal was the difference in Sydney and saw Japan win the tournament for the third time. Nagano played the entirety of the showpiece, which was attended by 74,397 spectators. Wow, that's a lot for women's sports, I gotta say. That is very impressive. US has got to step their numbers up with that, because that's impressive for the rest of the world for women's sports. While Shimizu was an unused substitute, the Liverpool FC women pair both made 4 appearances in the Asian Cup, each producing a pair of assists. So maybe they didn't have the biggest impact in the world on the team, but they were a part of said winning team. So congratulations to Japan on winning the Asian Cup. Congratulations to Nagano and Shimizu, who were a part of it in small but very had some impact and some capacity of helping their team win. If it's one thing I will say is that the women's team has definitely had a little bit more ups as opposed to downs than the men's team, even though the women's team hasn't been all that great either this season. But it seems as though the women's team is actually trying to fix the problems that they see on the field, and the men's team continues to do the definition of insanity and do the same thing over and over and over and over again. Thanks for watching Liverpool Latest today. I appreciate you stopping by. Leave a like on the video, comment your thoughts, and as always, be sure to subscribe or follow the show wherever you are watching or listening to the content. Now, if you would excuse me, I am going to go back to sleep because I'm just so bored and drawn out from that game where I'm just like, you know what, I'm going to go take another nap. See you guys on the next one.